Hello everyone and welcome to the video. Today I'll be taking a look at the Fortnite Legendary Squad Mode 4-figure pack by Jazzwares. The pack consists of 6-inch versions of Tomato Head, Peely, Recruit, and Beef Boss, and also has 27 accessories. Looking at the packaging, on the front we can see all the figures with all their accessories and the notes of how many points of articulation each figure has. The side just has the Fortnite branding, and on the back we've got large pictures of each character that is in the box, and at the bottom we have the also available pictures for all the other figures that you can pick up. So the first figure out of the pack is called Tomato Head. I have to say that I really do like the color scheme of this particular figure, as well as the fact that he's sporting a pizza theme, and hey, who doesn't like pizza? First accessory that we see here, which is called the Special Delivery Back Bling, has a little bit of nice detail to it. This is called the Praise the Tomato consumable, and as you can see, that has a small slot at the bottom there, which you should be able to slide his hand through, which is pretty cool. We have here what's called the Axeroni Harvesting Tool, which has a little bit of detail on the blade, and the blade does actually rotate, which is pretty cool. And we have a two-tone hunting rifle, which doesn't appear to have too much detail to it. And we've got a all-black suppressed machine gun, and again here, pretty basic, not that much detail. There was another accessory that this figure on its own generally comes with, which is called the Shadow Stone, but for whatever reason they did not include it in this 4-pack. And here we have his swappable head, which sports a crown of utensils. So overall, loving the design of this figure. So getting into the feel and articulation of the figure, I mean, holding the figure in my hand, it feels pretty solid. The plastic didn't feel cheap or squishy, just very robust, which I thought was pretty good. Articulation-wise, the head, it moves up and down. It has full rotation to it. You won't get any sort of tilt to it. You've got butterfly joints. You've got a shoulder ratchet. You've got bicep swivel, double elbows. You have wrist rotation, which can be moved forward and backward. And what I thought was cool was that there was some hand articulation as well. So that would be pretty interesting to see how that works when holding weapons and other accessories. For the torso, you do have slight bend forwards and backwards and at the sides. The waist actually has full rotation to it, and the legs are able to be moved completely out to the sides. Further down the leg, you've got thigh swivel, you've got some calf swivel, you've got double jointed knees, so you can bring the lower leg all the way to the back. And again, I was surprised at the calf swivel as well as the foot swivel and toe articulation. So really impressed with what Jazzwares has done with these figures. I will be posing this figure towards the end of the video with some of his accessories. So I guess just move on to the next figure. So on to the second figure out of the pack, and we have Peely, which as you can see is a banana. Looking at the accessory, the first one that we have here is what's called the Banana Bag Back Bling, which has 3 bananas, a water bottle at the side, some fairly decent detail, I guess, for this accessory. The next accessory, which is called the machete harvesting tool, appears to be one solid unit. What I was hoping was that the machete itself could possibly move up and down slightly, or the machete could possibly have been taken out completely for Peely to use as a separate weapon. But nonetheless, it still has some good detailing. The next accessory that we have is the pump action shotgun, which I thought had pretty good detailing. As you can see, going across the top of the barrel, you have these little notches, and then on the pump itself, it has some grooves. The infantry rifle, though, does look a bit basic, doesn't have any sort of detailing to it, but it does have a strap, which you can put on Peely's shoulder. And then we have two swappable faces. One thing to note about these is that they do have some unique grooves on the back, top and the bottom part, so that these faces don't come out that easily. Moving on to the articulation, there is no obvious head movement whatsoever, but you do have some decent butterfly joint movement. You have your shoulder ratchet along with the bicep swivel. You have the double jointed elbow, wrist rotation, which also moves backward and forward, and you do have the hand articulation. There is obviously no torso or waist movement, but the legs, they are able to move fully outward sideways and forward, but you do have slight movement going to the back. There is also the thigh swivel. You have the double jointed knee, the calf swivel, you have your foot swivel, and you do get the toe articulation as well. So with this figure, I will be posing him towards the end of the video with some of his accessories, and we'll go ahead and take a look at the third figure. Moving on to the third figure in the pack, we have Recruit, or also known as Jonesy. Has a bit of a military look to him. Looks like he could belong in the G.I. Joe universe. We have his first accessory here, which is called the True North back bling, which has some pretty nice detail to it. We also then have his second accessory, which is called the Clinger. Now, bear in mind, I have not played this game, so I'm not too sure what the function of this thing is, but it does look interesting, as it seems like some sort of weaponized toilet plunger. The next accessory that we have is the med kit, which they've included a slot on each side so that the figure with its hand articulation should be able to hold it, which I think is pretty cool, which, you know, they've gone to that extra length to make sure that you can actually pose and use these accessories with the figures rather than just leaving it on the floor or on the ground. Next, we have the standard basic pickaxe harvesting tool. Not much detail, no detail whatsoever really to that. The figure does come with two interchangeable faces, each having its own different expression. And then the next accessory, which actually is for the previous figure, Peely, which is a mushroom. The way that it was packaged, it was my mistake. I thought it was Jonesy's, but it's not. It's actually for Peely. But I do like this, which is the tactical shotgun. The way that it's been painted and the way that they've detailed it looks really nice. The metals are nice and shiny. So I was really pleased with this weapon. Moving on to the articulation side of things for that figure, the head does move up and down and to the side slightly. There is a little bit of obscured movement due to the neck area, but you do have some decent butterfly joints. You have your bicep rotation, you have double elbow joints, wrist rotation, which moves back and forth. You've got your hand articulation. The torso has full rotation. It also is able to bend forwards and backwards and tilt sideways. The waist has full rotation. The legs are able to move fully forward and fully outwards to the side. However, there is a slight impingement when going backwards. You do have your thigh rotation, your calf rotation, you have your double knee joints, and you do have the foot rotation and toe articulation. So again, this is another figure that I think does look interesting. I do like the color scheme of it. He does have that military look to him. And this, again, these figures, they feel solid. They have very tight joints. When moving some of the joints, you do feel like you're going to break it, but you do have to just figure out how to move some of the joints to get the full benefit out of the pose. So I will be posing this guy towards the end of the video with some of his accessories. But what we'll do now is we'll move on to the last figure in the pack. And now we're looking at the last figure in the 4-pack, and it's probably my favorite figure, and that's Beef Boss. If we take a look at his first accessory here, which is called the deep fried back bling, which looks like large fries. Pretty good detailing on that. And then we have the cake slice consumable, and they've put a slot at the bottom there. So with the hand articulation that the toys have, you should be able to just slide it on. Then we have 3 sticks of dynamite here. And then you have what's called the patty whacker harvesting tool, which looks pretty basic, not much detailing there. And then you have the dual pistols. One color, but I do like the shininess of it. Looks pretty good. A little bit of detail there with the grooves. And then lastly, you have the tactical shotgun, which we saw with the previous figure. And this one, again, looks great. I like the color scheme, the details that they put on it, and the metals look great. And then moving on to the articulation of the figure. So you have the head, which has full rotation, and it does move up and down. The figure does have some decent butterfly joints. It has a shoulder ratchet. You've got bicep rotation. You have your double elbow joints, wrist rotation, which goes back and forth as well. And you do have the hand articulation. So the torso does have full rotation, and it does bend forward and backward and does slight tilting on the sides. And the waist has full rotation as well. And for the legs, they can move fully forward and they can move fully out to the sides, and they move backwards with a slight impingement. You do have your thigh rotation, your calf and foot rotation, as well as the toe articulation as well. And then as you can see, there's the back of the figure has your mustard and ketchup holder, and he has a pouch at his side, which they don't move, or they're not removable. So again, this is my favorite figure. I really do like the color scheme of this. The design of this guy is just crazy. He has a sort of mid-80s to 90s toy vibe to him. Um, and he makes me think of Burger King. But what I'm going to do now is I'll go ahead and pose him with the rest of the figures and give my final thoughts on these toys. So here are all four of the figures from the pack posed and with some of their accessories. My final thoughts on these figures is that they all have a great and unique character design. They have excellent articulation. I wasn't expecting the level of articulation on these figures, to be honest with you, and I was quite pleasantly surprised. The build quality so far seems great on all the figures, which come with a lot of accessories and at an affordable price. I will say that Jazzwares did a fantastic job on these. If you are on the fence as to buying these, I highly recommend that you pick them up. Hopefully you found this informative, and I do plan on buying more of these and doing more of these reviews. So thank you very much for watching.